Hey, it's Kima K, and the last season of Game of Thrones has finally started. We will see everything this show has in the next 6 weeks. Season 8 has already gathered up so many characters. We're seeing all the reunions we've waited for years now. So if episode 2 follows suit, which it looks like from a preview it will, we will get more and more of our favourite characters squeezed for every bit of emotional drama they can muster. I've had this feeling since they dropped the trailer for this season, and now with episode 1 and this preview for episode 2 that I'm about to go through, it's confirming it more than ever. I think Game of Thrones is going to weaponize every character, every plot, anything we've ever cared for, to manipulate our feelings and ram us with emotional porn. With only 6 episodes, the end of Season 8 is already barreling towards us. There are tons of questions that need to be answered in this season, and a few of them we've already got, so they're going to need a lot of tear-jerking, emotional scenes to exploit to the fullest to get us through all the plot, resolve all of these built-up tensions and relationships that we've had throughout all the seasons, whilst continuing to build on the ones that are really important to the future of the show as well, like Jon and Dany. And it seems now from this preview that the first one they're going to bring to the chopping block will be Jaime.
When I was a child, my brother would tell me a bedtime story about the man who murdered our father. About all the things we would do to that man.
It seems like all the characters on the Jon and Dany side are really tossing up between these two polar opposite ideas in their head. They know that they need to get over the baggage and history of the past and work together to fight a true enemy, but simultaneously they have this sense of justice that they want to fulfill to all these wrongdoers who have really put their family through so much suffering over the years. Whether it's Jon seeing Jaime as the man who tried to assassinate Bran, who attacked his father, fought against Robb's armies and all the other horrible things, Dany with all the stories of how he killed her father, Viserys putting this fear and hatred of the Lannisters in her since childhood, not to mention all the characters who just see him as a kingslayer, as an enemy, as a betrayer, all of these things that make them hate or mistrust him. And yet, he is the one that betrayed Cersei and came to them for the greater good. This vile, self-centered rich boy that's in front of them is showing them up on virtue. There's so much potential for a really awesome scene here. We know that Tyrion has to try and protect his brother to step up and talk for him, but his voice is worth less and less to Dany in this court as he keeps failing over and over again. Whether it was the bad advice not to attack King's Landing because he wanted to protect his family, and now that Jaime reveals that Cersei plans to betray them, there's another lack of judgment and failure on Tyrion's head. Though Jaime does have other allies in this room, Brienne knows the truth about Jaime, and she even confronted him in the finale for the last season, telling him to literally fuck loyalty and fight with them, and that's what he's done. As well, I think that Bran probably won't try to go on the offensive. When Sam approached him and he's just sitting in his wheelchair looking really creepy like he always is, he said he was waiting for an old friend. Clearly this was referring to Jaime coming in at the end of the episode. And as well, if it wasn't for what Jaime did, even though it wasn't in good intentions, it wouldn't have unlocked his powers and really gave him the life and position he needed to help humanity. On top of the fact that he is now emotionless, so he wouldn't really hold a grudge, I see him backing up Jaime and knowing he's an ally, especially if he saw that really intense breakup between Cersei and Jaime.
He never should have trusted Cersei.
You never should have either.
So it seems like Dany again recognizes that Tyrion is failing because of his feelings for his family. And now that they know through Jaime that Cersei's planning to betray them, she's kind of pinning the blame squarely on Tyrion. And that's when Sansa steps up and she's like, actually, you're the leader, it also falls on you. So they're clearly going to keep going with this kind of conflict and tension between Sansa and Dany. The entirety of Sansa's story, she's been kind of controlled and manipulated from above by these different kinds of characters. Whether it was a strict routine of her sewing or whatnot from her Septon way back in season 1 to Cersei and Littlefinger and all these people controlling her, setting the rules and how she can play. But she's in the mindset to take the initiative for herself. She sees people failing around her and knows she has to step up, and she's not going to let Dany trample over that new control she has. I've said in a previous video that I think the future of House Stark lies with Sansa. She's going to be the head of the family. And from the episode we just got and this next one we see coming, it's very clear she's stepping up to that role. So again, we're going to have this tension between them wanting to unify to face this greater threat, as well as this kind of internal bickering where people can't set aside the past or the politics or what's right. Their mind has been so set in a certain way their entire lives that now breaking that for this White Walker threat is very difficult for everyone. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this rivalry and where you think it's going to go in the season. Whether it means that Sansa's going to have to push out Jon Snow as a leadership position and really take the house for herself and say, you're really not acting as the best person for us, so you're going to have to take the Targaryen side now. Or whether it means they're going to actually have to make up between Dany and Sansa and they'll work together to be a really strong team.
Death. It's got many faces. I look forward to seeing this one.
So we have this really awesome kind of dialogue from Arya. She's like, death, it has many faces. I'm really looking forward to see this one. Which is probably referring to the Whites or the White Walkers and how she's ready to take them on. Which contrasts exactly oppositely to what we had in the trailer that was first released, where she's panting, she's out of breath, she's sweating, and she runs. This could mean that she's going to be quite confident and ready to fight the White Walkers in the beginning of this fight, but as things start to go south, and she faces what literally could be the most accurate embodiment of the god of death, she's going to do what she's always been taught. What do you say to the god of death? Not today. We also see this interesting shot of Jorah sheathing a sword. He's looking quite complex at it, so this could be a gift from Samwell Tarly maybe. He has a connection with him. Could be Heartsbane or something like that. Otherwise, I doubt they'd rehash over the whole should he or should he not take back Longclaw, because they established that Jon should have that. So it could be nice to see everyone's favourite old bear back out in the field.
How long do we have? Before the sun comes up tomorrow.
So the dead are marching really quickly, and before we know it, Winterfell will be under siege. Now it seems like we could begin the fight this episode, but it's more likely we get right to the end of the episode and then things start to kind of pick up and we'll actually get in episode 3. It kind of depends on when Tormund arrives in the episode. I think with everything that's happening with Jaime and the development of the other characters and the training and Tyrion happening and them kind of dealing with what they're going to do with Cersei, there's going to be more than enough time for them to mess around for most of the episode before we get into the actual fighting, so maybe that's going to be an episode 3 thing. It's actually quite lucky that the White Walkers are moving on them quite quickly because they don't have the resources to maintain an army this big for that long. Sansa pointed this out in that earlier meeting where she was kind of being snappy at Dany. We see a bunch of shots of people training and running around and making preparations and testing weapons, but none of the actual fighting and blood and fire yet, so probably not this episode. But don't worry, we get a really important shot of Missandei and Grey Worm, so tons of flushing out in that storyline. Don't worry, everyone's favourite romance is going on track steadily. We've got Jon looking surprised, so they could have another character showing up out of nowhere. Maybe this is when he sees Jaime or Tormund, or maybe it's even just the people from the Night's Watch he hasn't seen in ages. So by the end of the episode, all of the major characters that are supporting Jon and Dany will be prepared and ready. The army of the dead will arrive, and the stage will be set for the first major showdown against the army of the dead. And so we end the preview with this zooming shot out of Tyrion looking at the wall, very gloomy, setting the mood for what's about to come. So tell me if you think these characters can set aside the baggage, the history, the politics in time to fight this army as one. What are the stakes going to be for the showdown? Will Dany lose another dragon? Will other characters die? Will they have to retreat from Winterfell? All of those questions and more will need to be answered over the next 5 weeks. So if you want to see reviews for the episodes that come out, as well as preview breakdowns, make sure to subscribe to the channel as we take the final ride on this journey we call Game of Thrones, and hopefully it won't tear our heart to pieces.